I see a lot of people confused about trucks and operating trucks and what all the different expenses are, and whether you're leasing from a carrier or to a carrier, you're doing a lease purchase, you're buying a truck. Let's just talk about them. These are the 13 things that are required to operate a truck. Doesn't matter what the relationship with, under your own authority, leasing to a carrier, doing a lease purchase. If you'll learn about these 13 items, you're going to be in a much better position to understand what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. Let's begin. The truck. Where you're going to get it, how much is it going to cost? There are two main costs involved in a truck. Acquisition, how you're going to get it. Maintenance, how you're going to maintain it. A truck properly utilized, running full time, should generate somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000 annually. After you've paid all of the costs associated with running that truck, you should have somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000 left over. That's what we do. When you're thinking about that acquisition cost, let's do some math like if you were going to make an investment. You don't want to spend $250,000 for something that's only going to return $100,000 or $150,000 a year. So the reasonable amount of money that you would spend for the first truck is somewhere around $40,000 to $50,000. That lowers your risk. You're still going to have a maintenance cost no matter what you do, but your acquisition cost for the first truck you ever buy should be somewhere between $40,000 and $60,000. We budget 25 cents a mile for maintenance. Is that high? Probably. But for the first-time owner-operator, you need more savings than you think you do, because things are going to happen out of your control, and you better have some money. The last and most important thing really about a truck is, how is it spec'd out? Are you going to pull a van? You're going to pull a reefer? You're going to pull a flatbed? You're going to pull a tanker? What size wheelbase do you need? What about fuel? Are you going to run general freight in a dry van where you're going to make less money per mile, so you need better fuel mileage? Or are you going to run oversized open deck heavy haul stuff where you need stronger gears, stronger transmission, stronger frame, longer wheelbase? You have to think about the kind of freight that you're going to pull, because not all trucks are made the same. So you have to take into a lot of considerations what truck you're buying, what you're going to use it for, and how it is best going to suit the need of the freight that you're going to pull. Trailers aren't a lot different than trucks in many ways. It's got an acquisition cost, a maintenance cost, and then you have to make sure it's spec'd properly. The overwhelming majority of first-time owner-operators do not also need to buy a trailer. You can lease to a carrier like Landstar that'll provide you a van trailer at no cost, no maintenance, no acquisition. You don't have a cost for a trailer. But if you want to get into flatbed open deck freight, then you have to think a lot about the specs. We like 53-foot flatbeds, but we want all aluminum with a welded frame. So you can't just look at a trailer and go, oh, there's a trailer, that's the one I want. You have to think about it, and you have to understand ahead of time, before you make the purchase, is this the right piece of equipment for the operation that I'm going to set up? And I also don't need a brand new trailer. We find used flatbed trailers all the time between $20,000 and $30,000, and that's plenty to spend on a trailer, especially when you're getting started. Number 3 on the list, the driver. Yes, obviously, we know that if you're going to operate a truck, you need a driver. But here's one of the biggest mistakes that I see first-time owner-operators make. They don't know how to wear both hats at the same time. You have to be the driver, and you have to be the owner. You have to make sure the driver gets paid, and you have to make sure that the owner gets paid. What a lot of people do is they end up buying a truck and they just pay the driver. Then when the owner has a problem, they end up broke and out of business, because now the driver has been paid, but the owner has no money to pay the business's expenses, and especially catastrophic repairs with. So we have to have a payroll, and we have to have a profit. The way that we teach people how to run trucks is that you set yourself up with a payroll. So that means you have an LLC, you do a subchapter S election, which means you can pay yourself what the IRS calls a reasonable salary on a W-2, so that when you make a profit, you don't have to pay Social Security, Medicare taxes on the profit, you only have to pay it on the payroll. Payroll comes at an expense. Any employee anywhere cost about 13% more than you pay them. So if you pay an employee $1, it's going to cost you $1.13. But it's going to save you a lot of money because you're not going to have to pay all of that tax on this profit. And if you're doing the truck right, this guy should be getting paid well, and so should this guy. So there should be plenty of profit to go around. Another important reason to do this from day one is to set up stability in your business, especially if you have a wife and kids at home, to make sure that every single week there's enough money going to the house from this business that you've created to pay all your bills and buy food and keep the lights on. And then we can hold the owner side of this accountable to make sure that there's a profit. If you ever hope to scale up your business and add trucks, well, you're going to have a payroll because you're going to have to pay drivers. And if you're going to do it legally and morally, you're going to pay those drivers on a W-2. It's going to be much easier to put that driver in when you already have the payroll set up for yourself. What about contingencies? The former owner of Blue Ribbon, Larry, in the early days of Blue Ribbon, was sitting at a stoplight, got T-boned at an intersection by a teenage girl and broke his shoulder. Well, his business was already set up to pay a driver and to make a profit, so he found someone to drive the truck to keep his customers and keep all of his runs going for him while he was down, and he was able to just slide that in instead of panicking what's going to happen. This is why we teach risk management as a part of business. You've got to think about all the things that you think aren't going to happen and how much they're cost, and then be prepared for when it happens, not if. If you're going to haul freight in the United States, you have to have a carrier authority. That's an MC number. Every truck hauling freight, with the exception of some private fleets and people that are not for hire, has to have an MC authority. Now, there are a lot of people that think it's better to get their own authority than to lease under someone else's authority. I don't agree with that. There's a lot of risk that comes with operating under your own MC authority. Risk comes with a cost. If there's someone who has already done the work to set up that MC authority and everything and all the responsibilities that come with it, then they'll give you a percentage of the revenue so that you don't have to take all of this risk. That's the best move for the first-time owner-operator. If it is your desire to build a large trucking company, then yes, someday you may need to go get your own MC authority. But it's not necessary. There are lots and lots and lots of carriers in the United States that are already established. They have already taken care of all these details. They already have all of it set up. You don't need to have your own authority. The statistical likelihood of your failure as a first-time owner-operator under your own numbers rather than someone else's is exponentially higher. The great thing about the freight market in the United States is that anybody can be a carrier. The terrifying thing about the United States freight market is that anybody can be a carrier. You have to think logically, mathematically, and without emotion. What's the best thing for my new business? Is it to set up under someone else who already has an authority set up and already has insurance and already has a track record and already has branding and already has those relationships? Or do you want to go out and try to start from your own, negotiating with 500,000 other carriers? Insurance. This is a big one. You have to take the time to understand what the different kinds of insurances are, what they're for, how much they cost, and how much you need for your specific operation. When it comes to insurance, you're not looking for the lowest premium. You're looking for the best coverage with the lowest premium that you can find, but you cannot skip on the coverages that you have just because you're getting a better deal. So you better make sure you have an agent that can explain to you what the different kinds of insurances are, how they work together, in what cases they don't work, and what coverage you don't have, and then you price your insurance based on that. Cargo liability. This is the insurance that covers the cargo, and it covers your liability if you do something to someone else while you're under a load. Unladen and bobtail. A lot of times these are combined. Unladen means unloaded. This is the insurance that covers you for liability if you do something to someone else while you're not under a load. This covers you when you're under a load. This covers you when you're not under a load. This covers you when you're bobtail. Physical damage insurance is like collision insurance on your car. It covers your vehicle if you do something to it. If it burns down, if you get a broken windshield, if you have some sort of crash, you have to have physical damage insurance. Mostly it's based on the value of your vehicle. We're leased to a carrier, Landstar, so we have zero cargo liability insurance. That comes with the package. We pay $33 a week for unladen and bobtail, and on average we pay maybe $120 a month for physical damage. Workers' comp. Yes, in a lot of cases, if you're self-employed, you don't have to pay workers' comp, but you should have in at least some sort of coverage if you get hurt. A lot of the carriers like Landstar has a contractor protection plan that we have on every driver, and that covers them for like $3 million in the event that they're injured on the job. IRP base plates, international registration plan. You have to have a plate on a commercial truck that is set up through the IRP, that is set up for all of the states that you're going to run in and the maximum weight that you're going to run in. That's our base plate. Your trailer also requires a plate. Most of those are permanent. You buy them one time, they're there forever. How are you going to get an IRP base plate? If you're leased to a carrier, they've already got a program. At Landstar, it's $1,850 a year for an IRP base plate, and it's, I think, $2,250 or $2,050, one or the other, for the maximum heavy where we haul oversized, overweight loads. The IRP is fairly straightforward. All the carriers can deal with it, but if you're going to have your own authority, you're going to have to figure out how to get a base plate. IFTA, International Fuel Tax Agreement. If you don't understand how IFTA works, you're never going to buy fuel properly. Each state sets the rate for what they charge for the number of gallons that you burn while you are in their state. It's not a mileage tax. It's not a sales tax. It's a consumption tax. When you drive through a state, you owe them for the number of gallons you consumed while you were traveling in that state. The miles and the gallons are reported quarterly. A return is filed, and you either paid too much at the pump or you didn't pay enough. One of those two things happens. If you're leased to a carrier and get your base plate from them, they're going to handle all of this for you. If you have your own authority and you buy your own base plate, you're going to have to do your own IFTA filing. IFTA is not super complicated, but you should look it up. You should understand it and know what it does and why it does it before you ever buy a truck, lease a truck, look at a truck. You need to understand how IFTA works. You can find a full breakdown of IFTA on our YouTube channel, episode 253. FedHut, $22.90, Federal Heavy Use Tax. All power units have to pay this. It's $550 a year. It's paid once a year. There's websites like expresstrucktax.com and probably 100 others. You go online, you put in the VIN number, you put in your EIN because you have to have a federal tax ID when you're going to have a business. And then you pay your $550 FedHut $22.90. Everybody pays it. Every truck on the road is paying it. You'll have to pay it if you want to buy a truck. Compliance. What permits do you need? For what states do you need them? When do you need them? How much do they cost? What basic permits are you going to need to operate a truck hauling general freight? If you're doing oversized, over-dimensional freight, how are you going to get those permits? How are you going to pay for them? If you are operating your own truck, you have to be signed up in the clearinghouse like all drivers. There are consortiums and different organizations and people that you can pay to be a part of, but if you're a single truck owner operator, you have to be set up in the clearinghouse and someone has to call you and give you a random drug test. If you're leased to a carrier like we are, they handle all of this at no cost to us. We don't have to do anything except call them and say, send me my permits. Loads. You don't get paid unless there's something in the trailer or on the trailer. So where are they going to come from? You going to sign up for Truck Stop, DAT? Are you going to go knock on doors and get your own customers? Are you going to call brokers? Are you going to lease to a carrier that already has a sales team like Landstar? Where are the loads going to come from? How are you going to get them? Then once you have them, How are you going to communicate with your customer, which is either the customer, the broker, the agent, the carrier, whoever it is? How are you going to communicate and set yourself apart as a service provider to make sure that the loads keep coming and that you get better and better loads because of the service that you provided? How are you going to get the loads? Where are they going to come from? They don't fall out of the sky. You're going to have to work for them. Nobody owes you a load. Nobody owes you money. When you own a truck and a trailer, or you have a truck and you're leased to a carrier, or you are a carrier, where you get the loads from is going to determine whether or not you're still in business 365 days from today. Fuel. It's the number one cost that you're going to have as a truck operator. Where's it going to come from? How are you going to buy it? How are you going to pay for it? If you, as a first-time owner-operator, if you'll lease to a carrier, most of them already have fuel cards set up with discounts. Landstar has the best discounts in the country. Where's your fuel going to come from? Are you going to use Mudflap? Are you going to use Nastic? Are you going to use somebody else's fuel card? What are you going to do? How are you going to set it up? And then what's it going to cost? And how are you going to get the best discounts that you can? Fuel is your number one cost. If you don't know where it's coming from and how much it costs, then you're not going to be able to set a reasonable rate to the customer no matter what market you're operating in. Billing. How are you going to get paid? You've delivered the load, you've turned in the paperwork. Are you going to wait 30, 60, 90 days for the customer to pay you if you went direct? Are you going to do quick pay with a broker? Are you going to set up with a factoring company so that you get paid? Where's the cash flow going to come from? Are you going to lease to a carrier like we did? We scan the paperwork on Monday, we get paid on Wednesday. No recourse ever. I scan the paperwork, I get paid. But your cash flow is going to determine the health of your business and the longevity. So yes, you can cut out the brokers and the agents and the other carriers, and you can go knock on doors and you can get the customer to pay you directly. Just understand and don't be surprised when they say, yes, please come and deliver our load. We'll pay you in 6 months. Well, how are you going to operate the truck for 6 months while you're waiting to get paid? So you're going to give up the money with quick pay. You're going to give up the money with factoring. You're going to exchange a portion of the revenue with a carrier that will do the billing for you and basically will front you the money until they get paid. But how are you going to get paid? You're going to do it through billing. Just depends on who you're going to bill it through and how much is it going to cost you. Bookkeeping and accounting. This one's my personal favorite. If it's not written down, it didn't happen. A wise man once told me that profits in the trucking industry are measured in pennies, not dollars, and all you have to do is reach down and pick those pennies up. But if you don't know where the pennies are, you don't know where the pennies came from, then you're never going to be able to accurately engage in the market and offer the customer a competitive price against the other people who are doing the bookkeeping and accounting, and they do know what their costs are, and then you're completely at a disadvantage and a loss. So every single day, you have to count every single penny that comes in and every single penny that goes out. And once you'll do that over a quarter and 2 quarters and 3 quarters and a year, then you can say to someone, my cost per mile is X and my rate per mile was Y because you wrote it down and you accounted for it. It can be done on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be fancy. There's lots of apps, there's spreadsheets, there are TMS platforms that you can subscribe to that will assist you in that. But if you are not tracking every penny as it comes in and every penny as it goes out, you will never truly understand if your business is actually making a profit or not.